The notice was simple. A torn piece of paper scribbled with neat handwriting pinned to the worn-out board at the corner of Willow Street College. Room for rent, quiet neighborhood, affordable. Call Adam. No one passing by that morning could have guessed the story it was about to set in motion. Rachel Morgan certainly didn't. She stopped in front of the notice, her fingers tracing the faded ink. Her classmates often laughed at such postings. Only desperate students live in those cramped houses. They joke. But Rachel's eyes lingered on the words with unusual intensity. A strange tug in her chest told her this might be more than just about finding a room. Adam Carter, the man behind the notice, had written it with a heavy heart. A 38-year-old widower, Adam worked long shifts as an office clerk. His modest salary stretched thin between rent, utilities, and raising his spirited 8-year-old daughter, Emma. The house he owned was small, but warm with creaking floors and peeling paint. A house that carried both the laughter of his daughter and the silence left behind by his late wife. Renting out the upper portion wasn't something he wanted to do. It was something he had to do. Rachel dialed the number. Hello? The voice that answered was deep, tired, and cautious. Hi, I saw your notice. Is the room still available? There was a pause long enough to make her wonder if she'd dialed the wrong number. Then came a quiet reply. Yes, you can come by today if you'd like. The Carter house stood at the far end of a narrow lane, tucked between two tall hedges. Rachel hesitated outside, her suitcase in hand. For someone like her, accustomed to drivers, bodyguards, and sprawling mansions, this was unfamiliar ground. But no one here knew she was the daughter of Richard Morgan, one of the city's wealthiest businessmen, and that was exactly how she wanted it. Adam opened the door himself. His dark hair was unkempt, his shirt sleeves rolled up, and there was a cautious kindness in his eyes. He sized her up in a moment, not in judgment, but in that careful way of a father who thinks of safety first. You're Rachel? He asked. She nodded. Before Adam could continue, a small figure peeked from behind his legs. Big curious eyes, messy brown pigtails, clutching a stuffed rabbit. Is she the one, Daddy? The little girl whispered loudly, earning a faint chuckle from Rachel. Adam cleared his throat. This is my daughter. She'll be around a lot. If that's a problem. It's not. Rachel interrupted softly, bending down to Emma's level. Hi there, I'm Rachel. The child studied her for a long moment, then grinned. You can stay. You look nice. It was such an innocent decree that even Adam couldn't help but smile for the first time in days. Upstairs, the room was modest. Bare walls, a small window overlooking the street, a bed with worn sheets. To most, it might have felt too plain. To Rachel, it felt strangely perfect. She set her suitcase down, her heart beating with a mix of nerves and relief. Rent is due at the end of each month, Adam said, standing in the doorway with that same careful tone. I'll keep things fair, and if you need anything, just knock. Rachel met his gaze, steady and calm. Thank you. I think this will work. She didn't tell him she could have rented the most expensive apartment in the city with a single swipe of her card. She didn't tell him her father would be furious if he knew she was here. Because for the first time in her life, Rachel Morgan wasn't looking for luxury. She was looking for something else entirely, and neither she nor Adam had the faintest idea how much this simple arrangement would change all their lives. The first night Rachel spent in the upper portion of the Carter house was strangely quiet. She was used to polished marble floors, echoing hallways, and the constant hum of staff going about their duties. Here the silence was broken only by the faint creak of the floorboards beneath her bed and the occasional laughter of Emma drifting up from downstairs. It wasn't luxury, but it was real. The next morning, Rachel awoke to the smell of pancakes. Following her nose, she found Emma sitting at the small kitchen table, swinging her legs while Adam flipped pancakes in an old pan that had clearly seen better days. Emma spotted her first. Good morning, Rachel, she chirped, waving her fork like a magic wand. Adam glanced up briefly. You don't have to come down, you know. Your portion has its own little kitchen. Rachel smiled. Yes, but I thought maybe I could help. Help? Adam raised an eyebrow. You're a tenant, not a cook. Before Rachel could answer, Emma hopped off her chair. Can she help me with homework? Daddy, please. Rachel crouched down. What homework is it? Math. Emma groaned dramatically, scrunching her nose. It's evil. Rachel laughed softly. I used to think the same thing. And just like that, the first thread of a bond was woven. Over the next few days, Rachel settled into a rhythm. She attended college in the mornings, came home in the afternoons, and spent evenings often downstairs, helping Emma with schoolwork, listening to her stories, or even reading her bedtime tales when Adam returned late from work. It wasn't long before Emma started calling her big sister. One evening, while Rachel braided Emma's hair, Adam stood in the doorway, arms crossed. His tired face softened as he watched the two. For years, Emma had only known his care, his voice, his efforts. And while he never complained, he knew Emma had longed for a motherly presence, some feminine warmth that he simply couldn't provide. He cleared his throat. "She's taken quite a liking to you." Rachel glanced up, smiling faintly. "She's easy to like." Adam studied her for a moment longer. There was something about Rachel, her manners, her speech, even the way she carried herself that didn't quite fit with the idea of a struggling student. But he pushed the thought aside. After all, everyone had their mysteries. The hints of Rachel's hidden life slipped out in little ways. Her phone, sleek and expensive, once lit up with dozens of messages in a group chat titled Morgan Family Gala. She quickly silenced it, pretending it was nothing. When Emma asked if she'd ever been to a fancy restaurant, Rachel smiled knowingly but didn't answer. Instead, she asked Emma what her favorite food was, and when Emma whispered, "chocolate chip cookies," Rachel promised to bake them one day. Another time, when Adam's old car broke down, Rachel offered to pay for the repairs, but she disguised it as, "I know a cheap mechanic." Adam politely declined, his pride stronger than his exhaustion. Still, she found quiet ways to help. She'd bring home groceries and claimed they were 2-for-1 deals. She slipped a pair of new pencils into Emma's bag and said they were extras from college. Emma never questioned it, but Adam noticed. Late one night, after Emma had fallen asleep, Adam stepped outside to lock the gate. He found Rachel sitting on the porch, staring up at the night sky. "Do you like it here?" he asked quietly. Rachel turned to him, her green eyes reflecting the porch light. "This more than I thought I would. Most students don't want to live in an old creaky house with a single dad and a kid." Rachel's smile was gentle, almost sad. "Most students aren't looking for what I'm looking for." Adam frowned slightly, curiosity stirring. "And what's that?" Rachel hesitated, then whispered, "A place that feels like home." Adam didn't press further. He simply nodded, though the words lingered in his chest long after he went inside. Neither of them knew it then, but the fragile threads of trust and belonging were already weaving themselves into something neither wealth nor hardship could have ever bought. Adam Carter was a man who knew how to stretch every penny. Rachel noticed it in the way he poured the last drop of milk into Emma's cereal and then filled his own cup with water instead. She noticed it when he stitched the sole of his old shoes rather than buying new ones. And she noticed it when he walked Emma to school in the rain, holding his worn coat over her head while he himself got soaked. To Rachel, these small details spoke louder than words. Adam was a man who carried the weight of the world quietly without asking for help. One Saturday morning, Emma tugged at Rachel's sleeve. "Rachel, Daddy said we can't go to the fun fair this year. Tickets cost too much." Her little voice wavered, though she tried to sound brave. "But I don't mind." Rachel's heart tightened. That evening, she searched online for discount vouchers, determined to make Emma smile. A week later, Emma squealed with delight as the three of them entered the fairgrounds. When Adam frowned at the tickets, Rachel quickly said, "They were free passes from my college, a promotion." Adam narrowed his eyes but said nothing. Emma's laughter was too precious to ruin with suspicion. Rachel continued her quiet kindness. She left grocery bags on the counter, always with the same explanation. 2-for-1 deals. She slipped fresh notebooks into Emma's school bag, claiming her professors gave her extras. When Adam's old car refused to start one morning, she arranged for a mechanic to fix it, leaving money in an envelope with a note, "college refund." Adam wasn't a fool, he noticed. He just didn't know what to say. Pride and gratitude wrestled inside him, but he let the charade stand, partly because Rachel's kindness was offered with such respect. One night, Emma had fallen asleep on the couch, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Adam gently covered her with a blanket before stepping onto the porch. He found Rachel there sipping tea, her eyes distant. "You do a lot for us," Adam said quietly. Rachel turned startled. Well, Emma's like a little sister to me." He studied her for a long moment. "You buy more than you should. Groceries, school supplies, even those fair tickets." Rachel's chest tightened. "Do you want me to stop?" Adam shook his head. "No, I just wonder why." Rachel hesitated. She couldn't tell him the truth that she was the daughter of one of the city's richest men. choosing to live a simple life. Instead, she whispered, because sometimes giving feels better than receiving. The next day, Adam's pride was tested again. Emma's shoes had worn thin holes peeking through the salts. He sighed, planning to patch them. But Rachel returned from college with a pair of bright new shoes, claiming they were from a friend who'd bought the wrong size. Emma squealed, hugging Rachel tightly. "You're the best." Adam wanted to protest, but Emma's joy silenced him. That night, he sat by his desk, staring at the bills. Life had been hard since his wife passed away. Yet here was this young woman, his tenant, softening the edges of his hardship without demanding anything in return. Later that week, Emma tugged Rachel toward Adam as they sat in the living room. "Daddy, can Rachel stay forever?" she asked innocently. Adam chuckled, ruffling Emma's hair. "That's not how life works, sweetheart." Rachel, however, felt a lump in her throat because deep down she realized she wanted to stay too. And while Adam still saw her as just a kind student, the truth was far more complicated. One day soon, her hidden world would come knocking on his door. It began on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Emma was drawing rainbows on scraps of paper, while Rachel helped Adam fix a leaky faucet in the kitchen. The atmosphere was warm, ordinary, just another day in their unusual little household. Then a black luxury car rolled to a stop outside the Carter home. Its glossy finish reflected the sun, its tinted windows sealing off the world. The car didn't belong to their street. It didn't even belong to their neighborhood. Adam frowned, wiping his hands on a towel. Now, who could that be? Before Rachel could answer, the car door opened. A tall man in a tailored suit stepped out, his presence commanding. His silver hair gleamed, his shoes untouched by dust. Neighbors peeked through their curtains, whispering. Rachel froze. She knew that car. She knew that man. Her father. Richard Morgan. "Rachel." His voice cut through the air like a blade. "I've been looking everywhere for you." Emma blinked in confusion. Adam stepped protectively in front of her, his posture tense. "Who are you?" The man's sharp gaze landed on Adam, then softened slightly when it shifted to Emma. Finally, it returned to Rachel. "I'm her father, and she has no business living in a place like this." Gasps rippled from the neighbors watching outside. Adam turned to Rachel, searching her face. "Father." Rachel's throat tightened. She nodded slowly, guilt flashing in her green eyes. "This is my dad." Adam staggered back as if the floor had shifted beneath him. The tenant he had welcomed into his home wasn't just a student. She was the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the city. Richard stepped closer, his voice heavy with authority. "Pack your things, Rachel. You're coming home." Enough of this charade. Rachel shook her head, noted, "Not yet." "Not yet." His tone was incredulous. "You've been living in..." He gestured at the modest house with disdain. "This place with strangers when you have everything waiting for you at home. A mansion. So comfort." Rachel's voice trembled, but her resolve was steady. "That's just walls and money. Here, I found something more." Emma tugged at Rachel's hand, whispering, "Don't go." Richard glanced at the little girl, then at his expression flickering with disapproval. "This man can't provide what you need. He can't protect you, Rachel. He can't give you the life you deserve." Adam's pride bristled. "I never claimed I could," he said firmly. "But she's been safe here and respected." Rachel stepped between them. "Dad, please. You don't understand. This family, Adam and Emma, they gave me something our mansion never could. Warmth, a sense of belonging." For a moment, silence hung thick in the air. The neighbors continued to watch, their whispers carrying like wind. Richard's jaw tightened. "Rachel, you're my daughter. Your place is with me, not here." Rachel met his eyes with quiet strength. "Maybe I am your daughter. But here, for the first time, I felt like a sister, like part of a family that didn't see me as a name or a fortune. Just me." Her father faltered, the steel in his expression cracking for a brief instant. He had never heard her speak with such conviction. Inside the house, Emma clung to Rachel's arm. "You're not leaving, right?" Rachel knelt beside her, brushing back her hair. "I don't want to." "Not unless I have to." Adam stood quietly, his emotions tangled. He wanted Rachel to stay, yet he knew she didn't belong to their world. Still, when he saw the tears in Emma's eyes, his heart ached. Finally, Richard exhaled heavily. "We'll discuss this at home, Rachel." But for now, his eyes swept the room, resting reluctantly on Adam. "I see this place means something to you." Rachel straightened, her hands still clasping Emmy's. "It means everything." And for the first time, Richard Morgan realized his daughter's heart might be richer than all his wealth combined. The Carter house had never felt so heavy. The quiet warmth Rachel had come to love was replaced with silence that pressed against the walls. Adam sat at the edge of the couch, staring at the bills scattered across his desk, while Rachel lingered by the window, her hands gripping the curtain tightly. Emma, sensing the tension, curled up with her stuffed rabbit, her usual cheer replaced by worry. Adam finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "Rachel, your father's right. You don't belong here." Rachel turned sharply, her eyes flashing with hurt. "Don't say that. I chose to be here with you, with Emma." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're different. Anyone can see it. Your manners, the way you carry yourself, even the way you hide little acts of generosity. I should have guessed you weren't just another student." Rachel stepped closer. "So what if I'm different? That doesn't change how I feel about this place." Adam looked up at her, his dark eyes weary. "You deserve more than creaky floorboards and patched shoes. You deserve safety, comfort, things I can't give you." Rachel's voice trembled, though she stood tall. "Do you think comfort matters more than love?" Then laughter around a small dinner table. "Do you think a mansion filled with servants feels like home?" Adam hesitated. Her words stirred something deep within him, but his pride was louder. "Rachel, your father can give you everything. I can barely give Emma enough." Emma, who had been silent, suddenly burst out. "But you give me everything, Daddy." Her little voice cracked, tears welling in her eyes. She ran to Rachel, clutching her hand. "And Rachel makes us happy. Please don't make her go." Rachel knelt beside Emma, hugging her tightly. "I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart," she whispered, though her own eyes brimmed with tears. Adam's chest tightened at the sight. He wanted to believe her. He wanted her to stay, but reality pressed down harder than hope. That evening, Richard Morgan returned, expecting Rachel to have packed. Instead, he found her sitting at the dinner table with Adam and Emma, sharing a simple meal of soup and bread. Emma was giggling, Rachel smiling softly, and Adam, though quiet, watched with an expression Richard couldn't quite decipher. Richard's voice boomed. "Rachel, enough of this nonsense. Come home." Rachel rose to her feet. "Home. Dad, this feels more like home than that mansion ever did." Richard frowned. "You're blinded by sentiment. This man," he pointed at Adam, "can't give you stability." Adam stood, his jaw tight. "He's right. I can't." His words were like a knife through Rachel's heart. He turned to her, forcing strength into his voice. "Rachel, you need to go with him. You'll have a future there." Rachel shook her head fiercely. "My future is my choice, and right now I choose to stay." The room fell into silence. Emma's small hand clutched Rachel's, her tear-streaked face looking between the adults. "Why can't she stay with us forever?" she pleaded. For once, Richard was silent. His daughter's defiance, the child's innocence, and Adam's quiet dignity all struck him at once. He saw not just a struggling father, but a man who carried love with strength no fortune could replicate. Rachel's voice softened. "Dad, can't you see here? I'm not a millionaire's daughter. I'm just me, and that's all I want to be." Richard exhaled slowly, his shoulders dropping. For the first time, his certainty faltered. Adam, torn between pride and longing, looked at Rachel, knowing that no matter what decision was made, nothing would ever be the same again. The night after Richard Morgan's confrontation lingered like a storm cloud. Rachel barely slept, her mind torn between loyalty to her father and the warmth she had found in the Carter home. Adam paced the small living room, the weight of unspoken feelings pressing on him. And Emma, innocent yet perceptive, clutched her rabbit as though afraid it might all slip away. The next morning, Richard returned, this time without the sharp authority of a businessman. His suit jacket hung over his arm, his face lined with exhaustion. For once, he looked less like a tycoon and more like a weary father. "Rachel," he began, his voice softer, "I don't understand why you've chosen this life, but I see you found something here. Something money never gave you." Rachel's eyes widened. "You mean you'll let me stay?" Richard hesitated, then nodded slowly. "If this is what you want, then yes. I won't force you, but at least allow me to make sure you're cared for." His gaze shifted to Adam. "And you, Mr. Carter, you've done something I could not. You gave my daughter a sense of belonging." Adam stiffened. "I didn't do anything extraordinary." Richard shook his head. "Extraordinary doesn't always mean expensive. Sometimes it's simply human." A fragile peace settled over the room. Richard didn't try to take Rachel away again. Instead, he asked quietly, "What do you need?" Adam opened his mouth to protest, but Rachel spoke first. "We don't need anything. We already have what matters." Yet Richard wasn't blind. He saw the thin shoes by the door, the patched curtains, the the stack of unpaid bills on the table. His fortune had bought him power. But standing here, he realized these people had something priceless. Love. He cleared his throat. At least allow me to support Emma's schooling. Consider it my way of thanking you for looking after Rachel. Adam hesitated, pride battling practicality. But when Emma's eyes lit up at the mention of school, he finally nodded. All right, but nothing more. Rachel smiled through tears. Thank you, Dad. Life slowly settled back into rhythm. Rachel continued her classes, still living in the upper portion of the Carter home. Emma thrived, now boasting new school supplies and shoes, though she still insisted her favorite part of the day was Rachel's bedtime stories. Adam remained cautious, but each evening when he returned from work, seeing Rachel and Emma laughing together softened the walls around his heart. She had become more than a tenant. She was family. One evening, as the three of them sat down to dinner, Rachel caught Adam's gaze. For a moment, the silence spoke volumes. The gratitude he couldn't put into words, the affection she couldn't yet confess. Emma broke the quiet with her cheerful voice. This feels like forever, doesn't it? Adam chuckled softly. What do you mean, sweetheart? Emma grinned. Like Rachel will always be here, like we're a real family. Rachel's throat tightened, but she smiled. Maybe forever starts with moments like this. Later that night, Richard stood outside the house, watching through the window as laughter filled the small dining room. For the first time in years, he didn't see his daughter as the lonely girl in a mansion. He saw her happy, truly happy, he whispered to himself. Perhaps she was right all along. Inside, Adam, Rachel, and Emma clinked their glasses of water in a simple toast. No grand feast, no chandeliers, just warmth, laughter, and belonging. And as Rachel looked around the modest room, she realized the truth she had been chasing all along. Sometimes the richest treasures are not found in fortune, but in the hearts that open their door.